The city pulsed with restless energy, its heartbeat flickering through the windows of the high-rise apartment where Madison stumbled through the door, her keys clattering to the floor. Her fingers trembled as she fumbled for balance, her heels clicking against the marble floor like tiny hammers in the silence. The night had been a blur: martinis, laughter that danced too close to the edge of sorrow, and a crimson dress that now clung to her body like a whispered dare. It had been too much, and yet not enough to quiet the ache inside her. Her hair was tousled, her lipstick smudged, and her heart thumped like a warning in her chest. She hadn't expected anyone to be awake. Her husband had passed away 3 years ago, and she had grown used to the solitude. But life had recently taken a turn when her stepson, Jake, moved in after finishing grad school. He'd been staying in the guest room while he sorted out his next chapter. She hadn't given it much thought until now, as a shadow moved in the hallway and he emerged, barefoot in sweatpants, his gaze locking onto hers. Jake's face was unreadable, but his approach was swift. Madison teetered on her feet, a slight giggle escaping her as she misjudged a step. "Whoa, hey," he said, catching her just as she leaned too far toward the staircase. His arms wrapped around her waist, strong and steady, the heat of his skin burning through the thin silk of her dress. The sensation made her breath catch. The alcohol in her system muddled her judgment, but even through the fog, she felt it, a tension crackling in the air between them. He didn't say much as he guided her down the hallway, one hand at the small of her back. Her dress rode up slightly as she walked, and a draft of cool air kissed the tops of her thighs. Jake noticed. She could see it in the way his eyes flicked down, then away too fast. He was trying to be respectful, but something had shifted between them. When they reached her bedroom, she collapsed onto the edge of the bed, laughter giving way to a sigh. Jake knelt to remove her heels, his fingers brushing her calf, sending a shock through her system. His touch lingered a second too long. She bit her lip, unsure if it was her or him, or both. He stood to leave, but she reached for his wrist. "Stay," she whispered, not fully understanding why she said it. Jake hesitated, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "You need sleep, Mads," he murmured, using the nickname he hadn't used since he was a teenager. "I'll check on you in the morning." Madison watched him leave, her heart pounding against her ribs. That night, her dreams were a disjointed swirl of memories and touches that hadn't quite happened, the weight of what lingered in the air between them heavier than anything she had ever dared to face. When morning came, sunlight poured through the sheer curtains. Her mouth was dry, her head heavy with the weight of last night's drinks, and something more. She rose, took a long, hot shower, and tried to scrub away the feelings crawling under her skin. The heat didn't help. She could still feel Jake's arms around her, his fingers at her ankles. Dressed in a silk robe, she made her way to the kitchen, moving on autopilot. She brewed coffee, sliced avocado, and plated breakfast with a careful precision that disguised the turmoil inside. She called for Jake, her voice barely loud enough to carry down the hall. When he entered, the air thickened with unspoken truths. His hair was messy, his face still soft from sleep. He sat across from her in silence, picking at his food. The clink of utensils filled the room, but the tension between them screamed louder than any words. "Jake," she said finally, setting her fork down. "We need to talk about last night." He looked up slowly, eyes shadowed. "I know," he replied, "but let's eat first. We'll need the strength." They finished breakfast in near silence. She studied him, his jawline, his quiet focus, the way he wouldn't quite meet her gaze. "It wasn't just the alcohol," she said. "Something happened between us." Jake stiffened, his hand tightening around his coffee mug. "I was just trying to help you," he said, almost too quickly. "I know," she nodded. "But I also know what I saw in your eyes. Don't tell me you didn't feel it too." He didn't answer right away, but his face gave him away. Finally, he sighed. "Maybe we both felt something, but that doesn't mean we should act on it." She didn't press him. Instead, she let the conversation drift, gave him room. But by dinner, the atmosphere between them had only grown heavier. Madison cooked, and Jake sat nearby watching her. She offered him a drink.
Gin.
He hesitated, then accepted. They drank slowly, the alcohol softening the edges of their restraint. "You've been quiet," she said, breaking the silence. "Just thinking," he replied. "We can't pretend nothing happened." Jake didn't answer. She poured more gin, watching his eyes as she sipped. The warmth of it pooled in her stomach, loosening her. Her dress shifted as she leaned forward, revealing just enough to make his eyes linger. "Something catch your eye, Jake?" He flushed. "Madison, don't." But she couldn't stop herself. She rose, bending deliberately to pick up a napkin, the movement calculated. His gaze followed her. The tension between them snapped taut. She walked over, slowly, every step deliberate. When she kissed him, it was soft at first. He didn't pull away. The dam broke. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. They stumbled toward her bedroom, shedding inhibitions and clothing along the way. Their bodies met with desperate need. Each touch, each kiss, was a rebellion against the lines they weren't supposed to cross. But they did. Over and over, they crossed them with abandon. Their connection was undeniable, their passion overwhelming. At one point, Madison reached for her camera, placing it on the bedside table. "I want to remember this," she said. Jake said nothing, only watched as she hit record. The red light glowed as their passion unfolded again, raw and unfiltered. Later, tangled in each other, Jake whispered, "What have we done?" She kissed his shoulder and replied, "We've lived." But morning brought clarity and with it, guilt. Madison crept to the camera, powered it on, and watched a flicker of their night together. Her heart ached. She deleted it. Downstairs, she prepared 2 cappuccinos. Jake joined her, his expression unreadable. "We need to talk," she said. "I know. I don't want to pretend this didn't mean something." They talked for hours, setting boundaries, agreeing to keep it quiet. It was dangerous, but they weren't ready to walk away. That night, they stood on the balcony, fingers entwined. The city stretched beneath them, full of secrets. And now they had one more.